We've never raised meat chicks before, but we're going for it. Today we're building the brooder, setting up their outdoor space, and crossing our fingers that we don't mess it up. If you're new, I'm Erica. My husband Mark and I and our 2 kids live fully off-grid in Canada. We try to live a healthy and self-sufficient lifestyle, and that's what we share in our videos. So I'd love if you'd subscribe to our channel. It is our absolute dream to be fully self-sufficient, to grow all of our own food, to grow the feed for all of our animals, and to not have to rely on anyone. But we are new homesteaders here, and we need to take small steps. Often, small steps feel actually quite big. Like to us, we're starting meat chickens this year, and we have no idea what we're doing. We've watched videos, we've chat GPT'd it, we've read the blog posts, but it still all feels so overwhelming and foreign. If you're someone that's raised meat birds for years, you probably think, oh, it's just so easy, it's so simple. You just do this and that and it works great. And I know that I feel that way about a lot of things that other people feel are complicated or hard to do, and it's just experience. If you have experience in something, it's way easier than if you're new. So we're just diving in. We know we're probably going to be doing things here differently than a lot of you might think would be a good idea, but let me know in the comments. Please tell me all of your magic tricks, all of your ways to successfully raise meat birds. We are open to learning everything about them that we can. So right now you're watching Mark build a very simple brooder. We did the math on the square footage that we would need for 25 Cornish or broiler chicks, because that's what we're getting. And a 4x8 sheet of plywood, 32 square feet, was right in the middle of that ideal range. So we figured let's just keep it simple and use the sheet of plywood as the floor. And then Mark got one more sheet of plywood to create the walls. Something I've learned as a new homesteader is that you just have to be okay with winging it, going for it sometimes, because there's so much information out there and everyone says different things. Often they're conflicting things, and you just don't really know who to believe. People in your life say different things. So at some point, you just have to decide to do the thing like we are with the meat chickens and do your best, get the information that you can, use the information that makes sense to you, and then just learn as you go. Like, I'm sure we're going to learn so much from this first year trying to raise meat chickens that will just roll over into how we do things differently next year and the year after and so on. Chicks don't need that much space when they're very small, so we are making, well, Mark is making this divider so that for the first little while they'll just be living in half of the brooder, and then as they get bigger we will remove that divider and they'll have the full brooder to run around in until they are ready to go outside. I'm coming. Now that the brooder is ready, we are setting up the space where we will put them outside once they are big enough. And we have a little bit of time before we need to use this, but time just flies, as you know. So we are getting these things set up so they're all ready before the time that we need to have them ready. Most people that I've seen that do meat chickens have them in some sort of tractor, and I would love to do that, but our property has very little flat cleared area, and we're not going to use what little that we have to move a chicken tractor around on. So we are creating a larger fenced area in the trees because that area is not being used for anything. It's fine if it gets all scratched up and poopy. That's totally fine. So first, Mark is clearing away all of the little saplings and the brush around the trees that we are going to fence. We're going to basically use the trees as fence posts and just wrap chicken wire all around them in a big circle and make a door. While Mark clears, I'm coming along with a rake and just trying to rip up and remove all the grass and things that are in the way on the ground so we can sit the chicken wire right down onto the ground, and we're planning to put some logs to hold it down against the ground and to make sure nothing can get under the fence. And this is not a perfect setup. This is not a beautiful fence and run for these chickens, but we're just doing what's required to get the job done, because honestly, I'm a person that loves to have everything planned out and have everything looking beautiful. But if I allowed that to take over, I would just never do a lot of these things because it would take too much time or money that we don't have yet. And so just making things as simple as possible makes them doable a lot of the time. And I have to come to terms with that sometimes, that it's okay if it's not perfect. If it works, it works. Would I rather have 25 of our own raised meat chickens in the freezer or a perfectly beautiful and secure fence in 5 years, right? I would rather have those chickens now. We eat a lot of meat, so I've had to adopt that same attitude when it comes to my health. I do small, simple things that make a difference, but I do not care about being perfect all the time because I used to care about that, and it stressed me out so much, which gave me more health issues. So don't stress, just do small, simple things. If you're exhausted and overwhelmed, I have a free workshop I'll link down below where I share the super small, doable steps that I took to achieve much better health. So now we've got the chicken wire wrapped almost all the way around the whole area, and Mark is digging holes for the posts for our chicken run door. There were a few of these posts in the front by where the camper trailer is that Mark removed because we're going to be removing the camper trailer. And so we're repurposing those, using those for the posts for the door. You may know I like to do things as naturally as possible, but since this is our first time raising meat chickens and we're doing the broilers, which can be a little bit finicky, We are just kind of going the conventional route, not going super organic or natural, just doing what supposedly will work, and then we may switch it up from there. But as I said, small steps, that's all I care about, is progress. One of the main reasons that we went with the broilers this year is just because we are on a timeline. I am pregnant with our third child, due at the beginning of September. And so when we decided to do this, we knew we didn't actually have a lot of time. So the broilers are the ones that grow super big, super fast. And it was that fast growth that made us choose them, because we need to get those things in the freezer, ideally a month before my due date, so that I'm comfortable that I'm not going to have a baby before we need to butcher a bunch of chickens. The other variety that is offered by the hatchery near to us is the Western Rustic, which is apparently a lot more resilient and hardy, but takes quite a bit longer to grow and don't grow quite as large. So we definitely might consider that in the future, just depending on how this year goes with the broilers. We'll see how easy it is to keep them alive and butcher them at the right time. Because part of the problem is with the fast growth, that they grow so fast that their legs can't handle it, and they can get multiple other health issues because of it. So anyway, as I've said, we're just going for it, and we'll see how it goes. We considered making a shelter out of purchased lumber from the store for inside this run, but then Mark realized I can just make a lean-to out of trees and a tarp. They're only going to be living in there for weeks, so that's what we're going to do, keeping it as budget as possible, and you'll see that lean-to in another video. The day before we got the chicks, we got the brooder all set up with a couple inch layer of wood shavings on top of some cardboard. We do plan to use this brooder for at least a few years, so we wanted to put the cardboard down to keep it as clean as possible. And then setting up our little warming light, as well as putting the feeders and waters in there, so that when we brought them home the next day, it was all set up and ready to go. The chicks peeped in their little box all the way home, and we brought them right over to the brooder, got the waters filled with cold water, which apparently will deter them from getting in the water and getting wet and getting too cold. And Mark introduced Molly to a few of them so that she knows that she is there to protect them and not to play with them or eat them. We'll keep you updated on the progress of these chicks in future videos. And please let me know any advice you have about raising meat birds. Thank you so much for watching. We make a new video every week about our off-grid life. So I hope you'll subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.